Hey guys, so Richard Dawkins just said that there are only two sexes. But how should Christians respond to all this? Hey guys, so welcome again. My name is Eric, and here we discuss cultural issues and just how they intersect with the Christian worldview and everything like that. So let's get into this. Let's roll the tape on Richard Dawkins.
They want to, what they call degender and neutralize language, but they're doing it from a completely false pretext that you can somehow pretend biology doesn't exist, particularly when it comes to someone's sex. I mean, it's incontrovertible. There's no scientific doubt about this. And yet a small group of people have been quite successful, actually, in reshaping vast swathes of the way society talks and is allowed to talk.
It's bullying. And we've seen the way J.K. Rowling has been bullied, Kathleen Stock has been bullied. They've stood up to it. But it's very upsetting the way this tiny minority of people has managed to capture the discourse and to really talk arrant nonsense.
What's the answer to it?
Science. I mean, there are two sexes. You can talk about gender if you wish, and that's a subjective. I'm not.
But when people say there are 100 genders, for example.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that. As a biologist, there are two sexes, and that's all there is to it.
Whoa. So Richard is telling us that there are only two sexes. That's very interesting. Maybe you guys know Richard Dawkins, maybe you don't, but he is a famous atheist and a biologist also. He is one of what is called the new atheists, and atheists have been around forever, but he is one of the few people that are called the new atheists or atheist influencers. And most recently, the main ones have been Richard Dawkins himself, Sam Harris, and then also he passed away several years ago, but his name is Christopher Hitchens. And all these guys have been involved in many debates and videos and movies and all sorts of things, and they're an influential force in our culture. Now, he also wrote one of his books, Richard Dawkins, he wrote The God Delusion. And so there's a lot of interesting things to research about him and just to know. Also, he was in a really great movie called Expelled by Ben Stein. And that is an awesome movie. If you guys have not watched Expelled, it is super cool. You should look it up on YouTube. I believe it's free on YouTube. And it's just a great thing, just talking about how Christianity and creation science is being pushed out of education and stuff. So it's called Expelled. Look that up. Seriously, watch that. Okay, now he talks about several things in here, and he brings up a couple people. He brings up J.K. Rowling. Maybe you guys caught that. But J.K. Rowling, she authored the Harry Potter series, and maybe you didn't know this, but she's definitely not a Christian. She's definitely a feminist. But she stands up against especially trans ideology, and she says that no, there's only two sexes. Now, what's interesting is in the LGBTQ and cereal soup of all the different letters that there are now, some feminists, they get beat up for doing this for sure, but some feminists are willing to stand up and say no, there's only two. And the thing is with the transgender, that blows up really everything. Now it's no longer male or female or who you like. Now it's I can become the opposite gender, or there can be a million different genders, and it blows everything up and everything that our culture has believed in the past. So he talks about how there are only two sexes, and this is in total contrast to the LGBTQ revolution. The LGBTQ revolution is pushing sexual just craziness and being whatever you want to be, and pretty much saying that all truth and all morality is just relative. It's just whatever you want it to be. He's in contrast to that, which is so interesting. You have an older gentleman, an older atheist who might be looking at, the Christian foundations that we have always had and maybe thinks, wow, maybe we shouldn't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Maybe we should hold on to the remnants of this Christian culture that is saying that there is only male and female, and how that has benefited society so much. The LGBTQ revolution has done some crazy work in just the last little bit. I remember back in 2015 when Obergefell happened, that was the Supreme Court decision. It was incredible how fast this country changed and is continuing to change. And now you look at where the LGBTQ revolution is moving now. One of the main things is that it wants to destroy or break down cis-normativity, and put really simply, cis-normativity is just the idea that there are only two genders and that's normal. And so one of the main goals of the LGBTQ revolution is to break that down, and to break down what I would say is biblical Christianity and biblical influence in our society, so that it's no longer normal for there just to be male and female, that now it's anything goes and there's this giant spectrum. You know, from the biblical worldview, it's clear Genesis talks about how God created Adam and Eve, and he created them male and female. And he created them that way for a purpose, so that we can complement each other in a wonderful and glorious way, and ultimately reflect God's glory. And, you know, you look at biology, people are born male and female biologically, which is one thing that he brings up in the video. But in addition to that, our bodies are designed to develop in male and female ways. You can talk about chemicals, you can talk about puberty, you can talk about all these things. God has interwoven this into who we are, and that's the biblical worldview. Now, on the contrast to that, when you think about this a little bit more, how is it that Richard Dawkins can get off in saying that atheists, you know, that there should only be male and female? Who is he to say, who is he to make the rules when it comes to that? Because you see, from the atheistic worldview, if we're just animals and everything is just random processes, and we got here through survival of the fittest by killing each other and by getting to the top of the food chain, why is it that we should only have two genders? Why can't I just make my own morality? Why can't I do what I want to do? Yeah, I know we're born a certain way, but does that really mean anything? You know what's so interesting is Richard Dawkins is borrowing from the Christian worldview. And this is nutty when you think about it. Because from the Christian worldview, God is real. When you die, you're either going to be in heaven or in hell. That eternity hangs in the balance, and that God has a universal moral law that he places on all people in all places. And it doesn't change. It's invariant. And so when you think about from the Christian worldview, we can account for universal morality. We can account for rights and wrongs, morally speaking. But from an atheistic worldview, if you're just an animal, if you're just a highly evolved ape, if there was no meaning or purpose in this whole cosmos, and all you are just an organism, a bag of molecules, mostly water, just struggling to survive, who are you to say what's right or wrong? Universally, who are you to say that my morality is right and yours is wrong, when if it's all subjective, who cares? You know what's so interesting is Richard Dawkins, when he says that there should be only two sexes, he is illustrating that he knows God exists. Because apart from God, there is no moral absolutes. Very interesting to think about. You know what's so cool and what encourages me is, as Christians, man, we can stand against this LGBTQ revolution, and we have to. If we don't, we won't have any influence that we can give to this world. We won't have any testimony that we can give to them. If we give in, then what Jesus says is true, we'll be trampled underfoot by men. If we lose our saltiness as Christians, we will be trampled underfoot by men. But if we stand strong, I think we'll have an incredible witness in the coming years. Thank you again. I hope you subscribe to the channel. There is going to be more content coming, and love you guys. Catch you later.